Hello everybody. I'm doing a series on the book, The House That Jesus Built. Over the next month or two, I'm going to be sharing some excerpts from the book, highlights, nuggets that I am pulling out. It's full of wonderful truths and revelations. And today, for this chapter called It's Birthing Time, I feel led to read the whole chapter. I'm not going to do that with the entire book, but this chapter has to do with me and some of the children that have been born. So I feel led to read the whole chapter. So sit back, it's pretty short. There is a baby being born, and I have good news. It's a season and an era. We get to be witnesses of these events. We are witnesses of the birth and the growth. We are also carriers of that which is being born. It is a wonderful day to be a child of God. I know some of you may be thinking, what does this have to do with revival, reformation, and restoration? Stay with me, we are going somewhere. My wife Christy and I have 9 children. Yes, I know what causes it. And I have been there every time one of my children was born. However, I want to tell you the story of 2 of their deliveries. The first one I want to talk about occurred in 2001 when Destiny Hope came into the world. This was an interesting night that stands out differently from the births of our previous children. It was a weekend night, and when we arrived at the hospital, our doctor was not there. I'm not sure if she was home or out with friends, but the nurses told us they were in touch with her. I could tell Christy was close to giving birth, as we have been through this a few times, and I can see it in her eyes. I told the nurses this, but they insisted that the baby would not be born until the next day. No, this baby is closer than you think, I argued back. Destiny was our 4th child, and I could simply see it on Christy's face. The contractions began getting more intense as the night wore on. Then, for whatever reason, the nurses came in and put a shot of morphine into Christy's IV line without asking us. Christy could feel it immediately and began to cry. And she didn't ask for this, and knew they did it to slow down and control the birth of Destiny. I was slightly angry because I knew Destiny was ready to be born, and while I'm sure there may have been a legitimate reason why they did this, I'm convinced it was because the doctor didn't want to adjust her schedule for Destiny's birth. She wanted to control when the delivery would take place so it would suit her schedule. Destiny didn't seem to care about this. It wasn't long before the nurses realized the morphine wasn't stopping the delivery, and they quickly called the doctor in. During the delivery process, there were some slight complications. Destiny's heartbeat would become extremely slow for a prolonged period of time during the contractions, which were not as intense as they should have been. I believe this was because of the medication the nurses gave Christy. The morphine had caused her to feel very sick and nauseated, so they had given her medication for this as well. I could see that the doctor was distressed as Destiny was born, and we are grateful for her delivery took place without further issues. The next delivery I want to tell you about took place in December of 2010. Mercy Grace, our 8th child, came into the world. Her delivery was shocking, to me at least. We arrived at the hospital, this time in the middle of the night. Christy was determined to have this baby as close to natural as she could, and they did hook her up to a monitoring device, but she was given no medication or epidural. Once again, I could tell when she was close to delivering Mercy. It's time, I can see it in her eyes and on her face, I told the nurses. And like before, they dismissed my remarks and told me they could monitor what was taking place from their station. A doctor was on call at that time, but it wasn't our doctor. This could take several hours, they told me. I insisted that it wouldn't, as the nurses left the room and Christy's contractions became more intense. "She's coming," Christy yelled, and the next thing I knew, here came Mercy Grace. She plopped right out in front of me. I thought I was going to fall over. No doctor, no nurses, just me and Christy. No hands touched her when she was born. The nurses came in immediately after Mercy came out. I remember the looks on their faces, and I'm sure they remember the look on my face as well. I was furious that they had been so indifferent, but they were very humble and apologetic, and the doctor would share their sentiment when he arrived later. They all knew they had dropped the ball. Nevertheless, Mercy Grace was born. What does this have to do with revival and the things of God? I believe it has everything to do with these things. You see, everything in the kingdom is born. To enter the kingdom of God, we must be born again. John 3:1-3. We are birthed into the kingdom. You carry the hope of destiny within you, but destiny must be born. Men may come and try to slow it down for their own convenience, but destiny must be born. It's time. You carry mercy and grace as well, but mercy and grace must be born, not by the hands of men. Unless the Lord builds the house is built in vain. So this is from excerpt from The House That Jesus Built. I hope it was a blessing to you.